Okay, go ahead, and we won't be streamed, but we'll make sure it's up there.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good
Hope
afternoon.
everybody's had a good.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to the Human Relations meeting. Today is August the 8th, 2024. Time is 5:38 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Who has the roll call? Who is it?
Chair McGregor, this is Denise Taylor, Recording Secretary. I do have that roll call.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chair McGregor,
Here.
Vice Chair Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Gilbert,
Here.
Commissioner Gomez,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Dr. Roberts,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Mayorga.
Here.
Thank you. And also joining us, we have staff, Mr. McCray.
Here.
And Councilman Johnson is not currently on the call. And with that, I hand it back over to you, Chair McGregor.
Okay, thank you very much. We didn't have any, let me recognize our guest for today. Heidi, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate your time, and I know your time is very valuable, so we're going to keep moving so we can get you to your next appointment. On the agenda, our next item, we don't have any minutes to approve for the month of July, so you all had a nice month off, so we don't have anything to approve for the month of July. Okay.
That's correct, and we'll have future minutes for the next meeting. It's too hard to approve them over this format.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The next item on the agenda are the work plan updates.
And that's going to be the presentation from Ms. Majors.
Okay. Heidi, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
So I am going to, when invited, I did encourage everyone to watch the presentation of Dr. Stephen Sills about the scorecard and how that was created, and his going over the actual disparities. Due to time, because as Race mentioned earlier, I do have a very hard stop of 6 p.m. And I'm just going to kind of do some highlights, give you the overview of how it came together, and then pull up some of the recommendations that were there. And so I'm going to share my screen here. So in the chat, what I actually put is a link to this site on our website. And you can see the scorecard presentation here that was done at Greater New Hope Baptist Church. I do strongly encourage everyone to watch that because Dr. Sills goes very much in depth with that. So how did the scorecard come about? I know that has been several questions that we've had over time. Is through just many different groups, community builders, and other work that we do within YWCA and other partnerships that we have. We've always known that there have been some disparities between Guilford County and actual High Point. And so we've had many discussions over the years, and we did apply for a grant from the Foundation Healthy High Point to look at what is creating a baseline. So that is exactly what this is. It is a baseline of where we were in a point in time. It's not to provide answers. It's to say this is the statistics. These are the disparities that we are seeing through the statistics that were determined with the task force. And really, it really provides opportunities where individuals should have more questions. What do we do? How do we address these things? How do we move our community forward for more equitable opportunities? Who all served on the task force? And so actually Foundation Healthy High Point granted us the dollars for this, and we are grateful for them with that. We pulled together a task force that worked about 7 months towards this part of the creation, and that included individuals from neighborhood associations, individuals from our parent advisory council with our maternal health, individuals from our Latino family advisory panel, representatives from the hospital, the health department, the city, We did not actually have someone from the school, but we had that attended the meetings, but we did send them information on a regular basis to get input from there. And so Business High Point was also involved with this. So many entities that went through there. The group started where we actually looked at, my goodness, Race, there were a lot of statistics where we began to break it down in different categories because we wanted to have this that could be redone in 2 to 3 years from now and measure where we are. After that, the task force worked on how do we actually present the card. Sorry, I should have been moving this along, so I apologize on that. And the topics that we looked at were on the income and wealth, education, public safety, health, civic engagement, and digital equity, along with transportation and food access. Due to time, because I know you all might have some questions, I'm not going to go through each page of this. I do encourage you all to look at that. But one thing I will share is a question of why is it just between Black and white? And Dr. Seals felt very strongly that if we were to bring in disparities among, Asian, Hispanic, other areas, it would minimize that disparity. The largest disparity across all of these statistics were between Black and white. And it also went along with looking at where we were with the One High Point Commission and the report that One High Point Commission was doing and the research they were doing there also. So again, these statistics, we narrowed them down. It was very difficult to do that part. And then the group laid out how do we want to have this look. We wanted to be something that could be useful not only for nonprofits and funders and different organizations. I'm excited to say that United Way and YMCA and other organizations are utilizing this report card as they're doing strategic planning. But we also wanted to have our neighborhood associations aware of where that goes also. So in the end, we did the recommendations that are at the end are not in any number. They're not in any order. But these were recommendations that the group felt, and I'm going to need to move y'all a little bit, just a tad bit. There we go. These are recommendations that, the task force felt were important. These by all means are not anything from YWCA specifically. It is just what are some things that the best practices that the community can come forward and do. So YWCA is not saying we have to do these things. These are recommendations for the community, and there are already great things going on. Dr. Roberts, Thrive, the work that you're doing is phenomenal. I mean, what Every Baby Guilford is doing with around maternal health. So there's a lot of work that's already being done, but we need to continue to strive for our community. So again, these look at expanding job opportunities and wage equity, promoting home ownership and fair lending, affordable housing initiatives, addressing systematic racism in schools, crime prevention and community engagement. And then we go into the improvement, access for quality prenatal care, improved access for quality health care, enhance voter registration efforts, promote digital inclusion, and improving public transportation. So if, the colors tend to go back to the color of the actual initiative that is there. And so that's kind of a large overview of this. The next piece that I just want to share also is there will, out of this funding from Foundation Healthy High Point, we're also holding a JEDI Summit. And so that is scheduled for September 26th. And we're really working to bring community partners together through a day that we can look at with interactive breakout sessions and keynote sessions that we actually have some tangible pieces that we want to work on as a community. What are some of those, making sure that in solidarity, we're moving together to work towards some of these. We have a keynote speaker that is Tyrone Stoudemire. He is the global DEI officer for Hyatt, and he's going to be focusing on a keynote in the morning and then a breakout for business leaders. It is important that we have both business and community together and nonprofits and municipality together to move us forward and to get the work done collectively, especially having the voice of community there. So we're working with several organizations to bring individuals out to that. With that, Race, anything else I should cover and specifically? I know you helped serve on that task force.
No, I think this is good. I'll leave it to the chair to direct discussion if any of the commissioners have specific questions.
All right. So I'll turn it over for any questions there.
What was the name of that summit you said?
It's the Jedi Summit, and I'll put a link to that also in there. And Race, I'll send you the save the date email went out this afternoon. So I'll send that to you if you could forward it to all the commissioners.
Yeah, we'll be happy to do that.
Where did the data come from for these? The data in general for everything.
So that is all at the very last page. Everything is cited. And Dr. Stephen Seals, who was with the Institute, was the one who did all the research with that. But everything is cited within the report card.
Heidi, what was one of the biggest surprises to the group? Or were there surprises?
In regards to surprises, for many of us who have been in our community the longest, for a while and doing this and doing the work, for many of us, we knew a lot of the work. This really just puts the pieces in place. I will say there was some discussion specifically, from COVID, we knew about the digital inequity. The life expectancies, that's been something that's been around when Foundation Healthy High Point did another study with the Guilford County Health Department about 10 years ago. Thrive had been working in Business High Point and the work that they're doing, and WRLP and NC Works. So a lot of the data really isn't new data that was a surprise. It just put it on paper for us to have it's a point in time of where we are in that.
Hey Heidi. So my question is, once you all gathered this information, this data, were there different entities in the city that said, "Hey, you all did this report, and we're seeing that there are some inequities in the city, like public safety and the percentages and all"? And did they come to you all and say anything to is there something we can do based on what you're having here? Have you seen anyone try to make any changes since you all have presented this data?
Great question, Sharon. So, in regards to have entities come to us, we held a launch of this back in November of 2023, and that's when Dr. Seals did the presentation that I put into the link for you all to look. That was held at Greater New Hope Baptist Church, and there were over 120 some individuals that attended that event. Since that time, we've had some additional opportunities where this was shared with the tech committee for City Council, and other groups we've gone and done some presentations just like I'm doing here for other groups. But again, in regards to those recommendations, YWCA High Point by no means is an expert in any of these areas. We do work strongly within several of them, but we are not stating this is what the police department should do for public safety, or this is what this should do. It is up for the community to have this information, and then other groups to come in and, ask the hard questions and work with strategies. That's one thing that we hope to come out of the Jedi Summit is, again, focusing on some of the topics and within breakout sessions that are going to be facilitated for the community collectively to come in and look at some areas that we're doing great with, and how can we support those, and how can we expand, and how can we, what are some areas that aren't having attention on that need to be focused on. Does that answer your question, Sharon? Oh, the second part of your question, I think, was have we seen people have utilize it and doing that? By all means, this works right along with the One High Point Commission. Although the report was not completed, City Council did receive a draft copy of this report prior to the vote for the One High Point Commission as some statistical data that supported the research going on there. Other aspects, as I shared, United Way is utilizing it within their strategic plan. Forward High Point has utilized, not Forward High Point, Foundation Healthy High Point has used that. And YMCA is using in their strategic plan there also. So to see that when nonprofits and funders are looking at the disparities and how are the work that we're doing help addressing that, that's a big piece there too.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, based on everything you said, has any specific group expressed interest in leading the bigger piece of what Sharon is talking about, taking this into action?
Well, taking the entire piece into action, it is collective. There's no one organization that can take the piece into action. There's a lot of different parts going on. Dr. Roberts, you're right on here. I don't want to jump on, but you're doing phenomenal work with Thrive. But at the same time, we need the support of NC Works and WRLP and Guilford Works and, the many other, organizations that are working towards workforce development, including the school system, including Shift Ed. We've got to start with our kids. So there's not one entity that can work and collectively do this by themselves. We as a community have to come together collectively and do that.
Absolutely. To just chime in for a minute, it's a big work, and it's going to take many people to make it work. And then it's not a speedboat, if you will. This is a cruise ship that's going to turn, and it's going to turn slowly. And over many years, will we begin to see the effects if we all work together to make it happen. I will take a minute to toot the horn of Thrive to say that Thrive is the answer. Heidi and I have talked about that, and I will be one of the panelists at the Jedi Summit to talk about what Thrive is doing to lead the work on the small business side, because that is a piece with regards to disparities of minority-owned entrepreneurs and the lack of resources and support that they receive. I am leading that piece through Thrive and bringing aboard partners like the city, the MWBE office, and others have raised their hand to partner with me in that work. And it's going well. Everybody seems to be open and ready to do the work. I think when you're talking about something that's so big, it's hard to figure out where do you start with something that's so big. I use a riddle that is how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we are just one. Yeah. So we're doing that work at Thrive. Commissioner Jones has joined that work of Thrive. She's a program manager at Thrive Now, and she can attest to the things that we have been able to accomplish in the short amount of time, in a very short amount of time. I started in May, but we made some tremendous strides within High Point. The market has come aboard. We have a partnership with the market. We have a partnership with the YWCA to support Hispanic entrepreneurs. We are doing work with Carolina Core, just so many things that it's being done to actually do the work.
And thank you for that. And I just want to add in, that's just one component over here within the business. You look at what Every Baby Guilford, YWCA, Children's Home Society, and a whole collective of others are doing for maternal health is another hard piece there too. I'm going to say I got room for one more question, Race, and then I'm going to have to hop off to be able to get to that next meeting. I do welcome if you want to send me any questions or call me. I'll be happy to put my information in the chat also. Always love to have further conversation about this. And also would love to have each of you all represented at the Jedi Summit coming up. So one more question, if there are some.
Since I'm not hearing any, Heidi, I will tell you, since thank you so much from me, and I'm sure also from the chair, but we will as staff have the opportunity, if any other commissioners have some questions, we can always collectively email them to you, and those responses can then be shared with the commission. That way everyone gets those same questions. So if you do end up developing further questions along the way, everybody, we can make sure that Heidi gets those, and I'm sure she'd be happy to provide us with some responses.
And I do encourage you, if you have not watched that video of Dr. Seals, please do. It does go into details about the various statistics in that. Commissioner
Thank you,
Gilbert, I'm
Heidi.
sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I know that you were asking about some of the so I was at that meeting she's talking about. So yeah, do watch the video because that's what I was asking about the leading. I don't know if some of y'all were there. I was surprised to see a lot of leaders speak up and said that, especially Black leaders say we already know this, we've seen this, what are we gonna do to fix it, right? So I don't know if that's on the video. I know some of you asked about the, oh my gosh, the safety stuff. I'm sharing this straight from the the NCSBI, because we already had this conversation years ago, like 2018 or so. And that is a website where you can get directly. The one I found is the arrest by offense, and I just you can find those the search by race, and I did Guilford County. So I don't know if that's what some of the questions that y'all were having, but you can see the discrepancy. Now, what did she say? I didn't want to interrupt again, but what did she say about why is it Black and white and Latino? I didn't understand that. What did she say, Race?
I believe she said that they that drew the starkest disparity to show the differences between different racial categories, and she didn't elaborate much beyond that, but that was the decision.
Well, she did say that the Dr. Sills, the leader of it, felt like that was the largest disparity, and if you started bringing in Latino and Asians, it would have diluted some of what this particular stats are showing. And I think there's probably room for others of that to happen, but this was what they wanted to do as a benchmark first.
Yeah, that's why and the statistics I'm sharing, especially around police arrests and that sort of stuff, public safety, as y'all can see. I know it has AAPI community and indigenous. I know when we saw this in 2018 when Schultz was still around, you don't see Latino because unfortunately, white supremacy is real, and Latinos like to, they bubble themselves as white because there's not really a box for a Latino for race. So that is also one of the discrepancies and the issues with it reporting.
Well, I mean, I would say these recommendations could be a roadmap for us. There are things we've talked, like the 3 years I've been around, we've probably hit on just about all of them. With our work plan, we haven't developed a work plan around some of them, but we've heard speakers or we've looked at it as a possibility. So, I mean, I think it's not stuff we aren't familiar with. It's just on paper as a place to start. Right? Right.
I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, I'm just thinking like, how is it that, what is our place in all of this? Because as Dr. Roberts said, you know, it's huge. And so in order for something to be in our work plan, it has to be something that we can accomplish.
Right.
Right. I don't see where we would fit necessarily as far as creating a work plan around this. If anything, and this still would be, you know, a stretch because we need something that has a start and a finish.
Correct.
These things are this is years of work.
Right. Right.
Oh, and I don't know how you would even measure success or how we would be moving the needle, but the only thing that I would see is maybe if there was something in the space of affordable housing, if there was a project that was happening that we could lend, you know, service to, maybe. But again, these are things that are so large. I'm just not seeing the commission's fit in it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it the same way. I mean, it's so large. It has to be something specific. And I don't have it in front of me, Race, our current work plan items.
I'm going to do them a little off my top of my head, so there might be some that I'm missing. The current work plan items that are still open, we do have the annual board and commission meeting that we're working on, and we're going to have an update about that tonight. I know we also have bridging the gap between the police and the community is still open. I believe, I don't know if we've ever officially said that it's closed, the greater outreach to our Latino population, though we did feel that that was at least partially, if not fully fulfilled with the language access plan which was adopted this spring. But we're still in the implementation of that. So I don't necessarily think that we've fully accomplished that. We're still in the implementation from a staff side, though, so I'm not sure how much the commission is involved in that. And there might be one more that is escaping me. I can try to look that up while we're having this discussion. And Denise, if you know, you can jump in as well.
Did we finish the mental health thing?
We did.
Yeah.
The
final step of that was to send out a flyer in electric bolts.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that. I hear what you're saying, Dr. Roberts. I just think, I mean, so maybe what we do, if we use this, we choose our work within some of these areas. You know, it's a project within, I don't know what, affordable housing within, and that's sort of what we've done already. That's sort of where we fit. We just didn't have the big title headings as neatly put together as some of these were. You know, we've bounced around on some of this already.
I wonder if we couldn't use this as a launching pad. So I don't believe just with Heidi's presentation this evening, and even our kind of high-level review of the scorecard, that we could make a decision about how it would fit into our overall work plan. But I wonder if a work plan item couldn't be delving deeper into the scorecard itself to better understand how we might pull out some elements. And who knows, maybe after doing a deeper dive into it, maybe looking at some of those different priority areas, if you will, we discovered that there is no place for us necessarily to advance this work. But that does seem like a valid and legitimate work plan item to say we think that as a Human Relations Commission that we ought to take a deeper dive into this and see if there's an opportunity for us to, at the very least, move some of these items forward.
So let me quickly just highlight, I did get all of them except for one, which is, I can actually just pull this up and share so that it's available for everyone at home. So these were what were presented to council most recently. These are our ongoing 3 that were presented as just ongoing. Explore the feasibility of High Point becoming a fair housing assistance program. This is a presentation from February. Just mind you that I didn't create a new one for tonight. So that was presented to council. They approved the ordinance. They recently approved an amended ordinance because there were some small changes that HUD asked us to make, and to make it a greater alignment with federal laws. And we have already just submitted, I was going to say this later on in the meeting, but spoiler, we have just submitted our letter to become a FAP. So we've officially sent our application at the end of July. So that is working on, and there is no guarantees, of course. They need to evaluate that fully, but the current expectation is, in conversations with HUD, is that they would like to onboard us within this upcoming fiscal year. So if it is approved, that's where we would be with that. The language, the develop greater outreach to High Point's Latinx communities, that was presented to council as a language access, or was not presented to council, it was presented to the city leadership as a language access plan that was approved by city leadership and shared with council as something that was adopted. And we're currently in our implementation, our first year of implementation. And then we have explore possible ways to bridge the gap between community and law enforcement. We were working with High Point Police Department to explore a crisis intervention team. They're still working on that, but that implementation thing was on hold, but you can still, of course, approach the work plan update itself. The other ones that were approved at this previous council meeting were identifying community health resources, and we just had, for possible further action, we reshaped that to be support OK High Point mental health campaign, which was then completed in May during the Mental Health Awareness Month. And then the final one was study how HRC can be most effective among other boards and commissions, which was previously approved. And we suggested modifying that to promote collaboration among boards and commissions, which is being addressed through the board and commission collaborative meeting that's coming up in October. So that's where you are with all of your current work plan items.
I think the only one at this point that we're still haven't kind of gotten our arms around is bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community. That's a big undertaking within itself. The other ones we were able to, have a start and a finish, and I felt like, the progress that we made with those were good. But this one with bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community, I just think that we need to, we're not there. And I don't know what it will take for us. Or do we take little small projects in that? I really am kind of at a loss. So I'm kind of asking you all for your assistance with that one too. Because I want it to be positive. And, when you look at the scorecard itself and the breakdown with public safety and all that, it can get rather dark. Yeah. So just looking at those, those ratios and stuff can get really dark. And I just think that whatever we do with that, it needs to be something that we can find positive. But for the life of me, and I'm being very transparent, I don't know what it is.
And it's because these are big things, and there are other organizations within the community that's doing more of the work and, digging deeper. For example, the NAACP, they are doing that work. So we could very possibly be being redundant in some way,
Right.
because there are people who that's their area of expertise. And I get it, we have a subcommittee, maybe some subcommittees could do some things, but I'm not feeling that this is the work that we should be venturing in, because I happen to know, I sit on the NAACP, that stuff is happening at that level
Right.
on the NAACP. So
You mean their work with police and bridging the gap? Is that?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. The NAACP was a first responder, if you will, when the last incident happened that we talked about many months ago, and have had conversations with the police chief, and, that work is happening,
Right.
NAACP. Please feel free to join, a meeting. Reach out to Elma Harrison, who is the president of the High Point chapter, and sit in on some of the meetings to hear about the things that are happening in the community and join in. But I just think this is really big work for the commission to do.
Sure. Oh, yeah. But I also think that at our gathering in October, I think you're going to find again, other boards and commissions are doing little pieces of some of these. Rod, it may not, it might be a good idea to try to maybe just identify who are the players in some of these, because, we throw those names around and acronyms around, and some of us know what those organizations are, and some of us don't. I don't know whether we need to or not, but it is a broad spectrum for sure.
Grace,
I don't know.
I'm gonna chime in here because I beg to differ on the NAACP. Like, yeah, that statement they put out was not, I think, courageous at all. So begs me, I'm wondering then before I start, going down the wrong path. One, is there another organization working on this, that is not a CBO or someone tied to white supremacy funding in High Point? Because we all know that funding drives a lot of these programs. It is what it is. Is there another organization actually doing the work? And two, there are organizations that have actually talked to that community, that impacted community, to how they would like to handle these relationships, right? Because I would want to know from someone that has been stopped and has had a negative interactions, right? I don't really want to hear from folks that are donating and we sit at these lunches with the community, with the police department or other folks. I think we should hear directly. So who's doing that? How can we get there?
Just for everybody real quick, Commissioner Mayorga, can you define CBO?
That's a good
Community-based organization.
Thanks.
Community what?
Community, nonprofits, community-based organization, nonprofits, organizations that are working with a community, whether they have the fiscal status of 501c3 or they don't.
I do know there were other responses. I know that NAACP did respond to the incident that I think Dr. Roberts is referring to. But I think also it was the Black Leadership Roundtable also sent a response. And I'm not sure who else. I know that there were some other letters maybe in the.
So Dr. Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that it's possible that Dr. Harrison could come in and speak to our group about the work that they're doing
Sure.
in relation to bridging the gap?
Sure.
And I would just say, I think that speaks to Rod's point. So maybe our work plan around some of this would be to find out what other kinds of work are being done, or pick one, because there's more than one organization within each broad recommendation that's already working. I mean, the maternal health piece, that's you look at those statistics and I mean, there's serious, there's stuff happening every day. And
Well,
Yeah.
without creating another work plan item, Karen, I'm specifically talking about the one piece of our work, the one work plan item where
That we already have.
We already have.
yeah, I agree. But at some point, you know, we're going to have others that have to be developed, and this
That's
will
true.
help us. The Jedi Summit will give us a lot of information. You know, I would like to attend if I can. You know, just to be ears listening and taking notes, and it will be some of what is happening to address.
Grace, can you give us a little more information about the Black Leadership Roundtable?
Yeah, it's not an organization that I'm as familiar with as the NAACP. I know it is a collection of kind of elder community leaders who have been involved in the community for a long time. I know that, like I believe former Mayor Bernita Sims is a part of that. I believe Brad Lilly, the One High Point chair, Joe Alston, I believe, is on that. I'm not as familiar with the membership since I haven't been a part of that, but I'm sure that we could also reach out to them if you wanted to hear kind of their perspective on this as well. Especially since Chair Joe Alston was previously with the One High Point Commission, I'm sure that he would be an easy contact for us to kind of, we've already got his number and email since we've helped organize those previous meetings.
Okay. Yeah, I think in order for us to know where we can go with this work plan item, and it was real easy for us to say, you know, a year or two ago, bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community. And I don't think we really knew how big that project is. And there's a lot of things within that project itself. And then with the mental health piece and all of that, with Captain Jurin, she's still Captain Jurin?
I believe actually she is Assistant Chief Jurin now.
Oh, okay.
She has received a promotion, so I believe also now her rank would be Major.
Right.
And you could refer to her either way. So
in my mind, the thing about it is we bring a couple of these other organizations in to talk to us about what they're currently working on. Because as Dr. Roberts said, we don't want to try to recreate the wheel. And those weren't your words, but I'm just saying, you know, we don't want to try to recreate the wheel when they're already doing that. It may be that this project may be way too big for the HRC. We don't know, right? So we bring a couple of the different groups in to speak to us in relation to what our work plan item is. You know, what are they doing to bridge the gap between law enforcement and the community? And then how does that fit within what we're doing? And it may be that we may find out that this project itself is way too big for us, and that the other groups, the other focus groups or whatever, you know, they're working on that. They're actively working on those things. That maybe we need to come back to the table as a group and say, let's create a work plan that we know we can achieve success with. What do y'all think?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that works. I think we can hear what people are doing for a long time. That still doesn't help us. I mean, it gives us information, but if what we're trying to do is be action oriented, we just need to be gathering information, but not forever.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we found out, you know, these different groups, what they're working on. And like I said, it may be to a point where we say, you know, that project's so big, it's not something that we can actually tackle.
Right.
Then maybe we need to refocus. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we don't want to continue to drag it on if once they come in and talk to us, and there's really nothing that we can do as a commission to further that along. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep. But it may give us ideas of where
Right.
we plug in.
Right. So either or, you know what I'm saying? It may give us ideas of things that we can accomplish within the HRC, and then it may also tell us it's way too big for the commission.
Right.
It may be out of our wheelhouse. And if it is, that's okay, but we just need to know so that we're not spinning our wheels.
True.
So when I look at, we've invited Heidi in to speak with us. We pinned our retreat because initially we had a retreat plan to come up with our work plan items. So we pinned the retreat just to get some more information about what's happening in the community so that when we have our retreat, we can have some information. So that way this cruise ship that Dr. Roberts sort of spoke, alluded to, we're not sort of this tugboat all the way off to the side.
Right.
We're actually moving in alignment with what's happening in the community, whether it's with the racial scorecard or One High Point or any other, project that's happening. So I do see this as a tool for us so that when we meet for our retreat, we can be, we're not all over the place. We can sort of be a little bit more strategic in what we're doing, and identifying, as you said, Chair McGregor, opportunities that we can actually do, we can actually move the needle on. All of it's hard. Everything we've done, has been hard. The housing was a huge feat that we did. So it's just trying to come up with a plan and a strategy that's fitting in with what's happening in High Point right now, and we can support.
I would say I would recommend if the committee thinks this is the way to go, to just attend the Jedi Summit. All of the people will be there instead of having speakers to come to our meetings, because this is going to go on and on and on and on. And then we're going to be in 2025 still talking about what are we doing. I would recommend that we just attend the Jedi Summit. All of the players are going to be in one place and listen to all of the things that they have to say and the things that are being done. The purpose of that summit is to bring everybody to the table and talk about what needs to be done and how to do it. The breakout sessions, there will be a session for business and then a session for community. You guys can break out.
We spread up, we spread apart and attend.
Break out, go to the different, sessions and hear about what's happening, and then come back and decide what you guys feel is the best course of action going forward.
And we'll make sure that we have sent out that invitation to the Jedi Summit. I know that will specifically have a business focus, so that having, often DEI, the way it's framed, especially in this kind of context, is going to be about things like hiring practices, boards. We're bringing the chief DEI officer for Hyatt, so he's coming in with that kind of focus. I think that one of the things that we can pursue simultaneously is what I've heard is maybe some invitations to specifically talk about what these. There's a question from Commissioner Mayorga about what's Hyatt being the hotel chain.
The hotel, yeah.
And so but I do not, as someone, and I know Dr. Roberts, this too, but as someone on the planning committee, I don't think that there's a specific focus, for example, on police relations. So I don't know that, some of the many great folks who are there and talking about things will be talking about that. So if that is something that the commission wants to do, we can in parallel also pursue invitations to these other groups that you've identified, just to talk about what they're doing and explore that space further. I think it's a great idea to make sure you're not duplicating work by hearing what other organizations are already doing.
Mhm. But if that's the end of September, I would probably think our next meeting will be totally focused on the event in October. So then we attend the Jedi and we'd be better able, if we can. I mean, it's a daytime meeting, is my guess, right?
Yes.
It's not, yeah. Then we do our October meeting, and then we come back in November. We'd have a lot more knowledge about what the city commissions are doing, as well as what some of a larger High Point is doing, to be able to maybe be strategic, like Stacy said, to come back with some ideas of what might work for us.
And just to be clear, there's no ticking time bomb on running a retreat. As long as you all feel that you're doing work, and as you said, you have an upcoming meeting in October. You have this Jedi Summit. We can see if possibly Dr. Hairston from the NAACP or a representative can come into maybe the September meeting, and any other representatives from other things like that. So we can still make that a very productive meeting, and the October meeting will be the boards and commissions meeting, and then we can decide at that point. You all can decide what a next step looks like, but it is absolutely could easily be a retreat in November or after.
Yeah, I definitely think we need that time to gather more information. So right now it's kind of open-ended. I would say, like you said, we could do both. Because you just said, Dr. Roberts, you said that they were also going to have a portion about the community also.
Race, I think Race just mentioned that it wasn't going to be. I thought that
there will be what we mean, and we're still working on the agenda. So I am on the planning committee, so I can tell you that Tyrone Stoudemire specifically said, "Hey, I'm not only interested in coming and being a keynote speaker, but I want to help plan the day." So all of this will be integrated into what he's doing, and so it will be really cool. And then also a group called, I believe, Riot for Change is also helping us to plan the day. And so we're literally meeting with them tomorrow, both of them. So you're just one day shy of getting a full update, but to identify and fully elaborate on that agenda. We were supposed to meet with them earlier, but you may recall when all the airlines were down because a Microsoft system got hacked, it wasn't Microsoft, but it was related to Microsoft update. That was the day we were supposed to meet with them last, and no one's resources would work to allow them to dial in because they were using those Azure cloud services. And so suddenly that meeting didn't work. So we are developing that agenda tomorrow. It's been in flux, but I do believe there is a community component in discussion, Dr. Roberts. That is not an incorrect assumption. We just don't have the full agenda yet. And we know that Tyrone Stoudemire and Riot for Change will be helping us make sure that is an effective full day agenda that's going to include some breakout sessions. And there was initially some talk about dividing like businesses versus, say, nonprofits and community-based organizations, so that there is a focus on kind of how we're moving within different spaces. And we'll see if that still connects. However, there is not one that's focused on what I was trying to explain earlier. There's not a part of it that's focused on what does the local government do. And that's the space that you all are operating in because you are an extension of the local government. So that's all I was trying to say, is not that there won't be a community focus at all, just that there will not be, here's how to pass a law, or here's how, your fire department should be working or something like that.
Yeah, that's helpful because I was gonna say I have some feelings about having a corporate organization talk about equity in small little High Point. But if you say they're gonna bring other players to the game, that will yeah, that makes more sense. But I think one thing to know of what you're saying is that we have I guess they're gonna touch on a lot of points, but like Ray said earlier, are they really gonna touch on like what is on our current agenda and where we want to drive this forward? And I think we'll have to wait and see until it happens to really see that. But I think we need to be clear that we need to try out all the things, or just have not put our eggs in one basket as far as research is concerned. Have different ideas. And I mean, different options.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, and along those lines, if there's another organization that is working on something similar to what's in our work plan about bridging the gap, fine. We can hear from them too. But at that point, we don't want it to drag on. So once we hear from whether it's Dr. Harrison or someone else, and they kind of give us an idea of what they're currently working on, that will help drive us a little bit, whether this is something that we can pull a small portion out and lend a hand in, or that it is completely out of the wheelhouse of the HRC, and that the part of the project under that is the one with Major German, Assistant Chief, whatever. I'm trying to get it right. But
both are correct.
Right. When that comes back around with her, then that may be the one thing that we do. I don't know. But I definitely don't want us to try to recreate the wheel. So I think that if we can bring Dr. Harrison in, and specifically, what are their positions, what are they working on with this, and if there's another group that's doing the same thing, and we hear from both of those groups, and then at that point, we all need to decide, listen, are we going to stop with this? Can we move forward or not, and not drag it on? And then have a retreat in November, and we come to the table with work plan items that we want to do for the following year, because we know we have the boards and commissions info session in October.
Yep. Well, I'm saying as staff, we can make that happen.
I'm sorry?
As staff, we can support you for exactly that timeline. That'll make sense.
How does everyone feel about that?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Rod?
I'm sorry, I was shaking my head and I was thinking you can't hear me shake my head. But yes, I think it sounds good as well.
Okay. All right. So, Race, I will email you and Stacy, and we can get together and talk about what we move forward for September. And then once we get some things aligned up, we'll pass the information to the team.
Sounds perfect.
All right. Let's see. The boards and commissions info session is the next item on the list. So I did talk to Liz Leonard from the city of Greensboro, and she said that she'd be glad to come and attend and kind of sit in and watch what we do and kind of evaluate our first session. And she said what she does is she comes up with not necessarily a project, but something that all the different commissions can work on when they have those sessions also. So I told her for the first one, it's just kind of a get to know you. What does this board do? What does this commission do? And so we can get to see what each one does, and maybe there are things that we can help each other with. I don't know, but that's just I told her that was our thought process for the first one. And she said she thinks that's a great idea, especially if it's the first one. Everybody the get to know information session. So that's where I am with the conversation with Liz Lennon about that. Do you have anything, Race?
Yeah, just some minor updates. We did send an invitation to each of the boards and commissions that you all had identified before. And they each, I sent it specifically to the kind of the similar position to mine, the staff liaison for each of these, to ask them to share it with their board and their commission. Each staff liaison expressed a lot of enthusiasm for the idea. No one said no. They all said, I think that they think that their board and commission will attend, or at least representatives, and that they'd share it at that time. That was in kind of mid-June. And so at this point, we've gone through a full cycle where I believe they've already done that. So I'm checking in this week to kind of confirm that. And we've also, Denise Taylor has created a save the date that we're just finalizing, that we can share with everybody, including you, but we'll send it. We didn't have it finalized today, unfortunately. And so we'll get that finalized and shared with everybody. So then at that point, they'll have the confirmation, and we'll started addressing how many attendees to plan for.
Get to me right now, but she probably won't bother me until next.
So that's the current plan, and we will ultimately have that. We've also reserved the City Lake Event Center, which can host everybody, and we've kind of just, once we have a quote or a count of how many folks will be in attendance, we'll arrange catering and everything. So I think everything is planned according to what you guys already scheduled and drew up in, I believe it was the May meeting, possibly the June meeting. And so all of that is going to plan. We'll have definitely more details and confirmations of things in September, especially if you want to add any elements. But otherwise, I think we're ready to go.
Good.
So I don't know, does anyone have any questions about that specific for staff, or any things you want to make sure get accomplished that we didn't cover?
Did we discuss the agenda for the day?
Yes, you did. And specifically what the request was, I have further notes written down that I can make sure to present as an actual formal agenda in September.
Okay.
But the gist was that we would have some time set aside for just kind of meet and greet, connection, things like that. And that then there would be a time for either the chair of each board present or the staff liaison to kind of present a brief summary, 3 to 5 minutes, that would be, here's who we are, here's our mission, and here's our current work plan. And so it was intentionally brief. There will be some time for questions. And I think the whole thing was scheduled to be, I believe it was somewhere between 90 minutes and 2 hours, and that there would be a dinner served as well. And so that's the expectation, that will take up, I think, almost like 40 minutes of that will be just the presentation after presentation. And we're going to really try to keep them moving along so that it is a true 40 minutes and doesn't, extend out much further. And there will be some opportunities for discussion after that, maybe some kind of further topics at hand, but there was not any formal collaboration since this was mostly a meet and greet getting it started.
Thanks, Race.
All right. Any other comments? Thoughts, ideas? Well, how about this? If you all think of something, just put it in an email. Because a lot of times during these meetings, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for myself. Like a lot of times during the meetings, and we're going through our agenda, and we're having discussions, some things I don't think about until after the meeting. I'm like, oh, I should have brought that up. So also, just send the email if there are some comments or ideas you want to add to this. That would be great. I think that's something that we should do anyway, because just for me, I'd like to communicate with you all that way too, because I know for a fact that I think about stuff after the fact. All right. Subcommittee updates is the next item on the agenda.
And because of you know that sometimes this is how it happens. Social justice did not meet because we were in between chairs. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but just last night, the International Committee did meet. So maybe we can start there.
Yeah. So we met last night. Let me start off. I think we shared last time, Race and I, that we were reviewing the ordinance, and I wanted to send a proper invite and stuff. So thank you to Race, the department that helped put together an invite. So we did that this week. We sent individualized, so individual emails, personal emails to the members that were on roster. A couple showed up for the first time since I've been here the past couple months. And then to hear the news that we have kind of been following the ordinance incorrectly, and all subcommittee meetings have to be in person. So we broke the news down to individuals last night. I've only been the only one in person since I joined. I'm lying. The first time a couple folks did meet me in person, one of the folks that I invited, but after that, I've been the only one. So with that, there were some changes. A couple folks decided not to. Just like I think one, right, Race? The others,
yes.
The others will be receiving an email from Race and the team that they have to fill out per the ordinance, right? An application sort of thing, stating who they are, what they want to join, and then they will go on a roster. Because then that meeting also needs to have a quorum. If we don't have that committee, if we don't have a quorum, then the meetings cannot happen. And so, that happened yesterday, was very informative. So we spent a couple minutes, going over why are they here, really good questions came up from everybody, like what is the role, what is this, and what is that, which I tell y'all why that's important. So because of that, and us, putting together a roster that per the ordinance cannot be more than 9 individuals, new names for potential members are in the works. So we have a deadline of tomorrow to share new recruits, and that we are hoping to have ready those 9 individuals by next meeting. And if we don't, next month. And if that doesn't happen, we are being flexible until October. So right now we have 7 members, yes. So we are going to be adding 2 more. We're looking for 3 names though, in case, rather have more than not have any. So being that we're going to have new members, being that the questions came up as to like, what is the role? What is that committee? How is it useful? And this question came up from members that have been here for over a year. I proposed and everybody voted yes to have a retreat, which I will be discussing with Ms. McGregor later today. Just have a planning session, right? Where do we want to go? Where do we want to take this committee? How can the subcommittee be useful for the international community in High Point? So that's the update right now. Am I missing anything, Rice?
Nope, that's a good summary. Yeah, so just to give a brief elaboration on one element of that, we have a new clerk. She's wonderful, and you're gonna all get to meet her. And also we have a new assistant clerk, and you'll likely get to meet her as well. And our clerk kind of provided us some new guidance as we were kind of looking into the ordinance further and talking about how subcommittees work, and how the commission is structured. And they helped us realize that, yeah, we need to have these meetings conducted in a slightly different way, which is that they have to be in person, just like y'all's meeting is in person. Now, I'm saying that in a funny time, right? Because we're all virtual. Why are we allowed to be virtual tonight? This is a specific carve out of the ordinance that when there has been a state of emergency declared for the area, whether that's by the city or in most cases, it's really from the state, then meetings can be held virtually specifically, but they need to also then be streamed, or in this case, uploaded after the fact. And so that's what's happening tonight. But otherwise, they need to be in person. And so we're going to then apply that same structure to our subcommittees. And therefore, we're going to see how that changes the composition of the committees themselves. It may ultimately change kind of what that looks like. And so it'll be interesting going forward. And also, this is also a good time, since I think that covers everything, Commissioner Mayorga, for the International Committee.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I think the next step we'll discuss, will be, like how, any guidance, because we would want to have a meeting that's larger, just a planning session to review what has been done, what, back in the day that I remember, what has been done in the past year or two, and how do we want to move it forward.
Yep. Oh, and you'll also see another thing that was asked is that we kind of submit to the commission written reports. Previously, you've heard like verbal updates like this, but that we'll also submit some written reports that the staff will be submitting that are essentially minutes of the committee meetings. So you'll start to see those in our meeting minutes as actual documents. So since the meeting was last night, we didn't have time to create minutes from last night's meeting, but you will see the minutes from last night's meeting at the September meeting.
Hey, Ray, I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Gomez.
So if the in-person requirement, does that mean that if we are traveling or, we can, dial in on Zoom from the road because that doesn't count anymore?
Plus 20?
So what it is that, and we, for the commission, we've already treated it this way. So you probably already actually aware of this and just didn't know it, that for the commission side of that, we've always, I think, except for when we were under a state of emergency for COVID, required in-person attendance in general. Yeah. But you are allowed to say, if you're not able to attend, we can make a link available so that you could attend. However, you can't take voting, you can't take actions, and you don't count towards quorum. But we've been that way for a long time. So if we knew everyone couldn't make it, if we knew everyone couldn't make it,
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's how that works. And we will continue that process forward, that you could still listen in and at the kind of chair's discretion participate, since technically you're at that point not officially in attendance. But I don't think that anyone would be limited in their discussion just because they're not there. So I do also want to quickly highlight that we have a new commissioner. For those at home, we kind of we're all getting to know this commissioner before we started recording the meeting. But Commissioner Alan Johnson is with us, and we're really excited to have him on board. And I don't know if Commissioner Johnson, if you'd like to say a few words at all or introduce yourself.
Sure. Oops. Sure. Alan Johnson, like Ray said, I'm a Guilford County school employee for the last 22 years. And I'm also a YMCA employee for the last 27 years. So I do both. My current role with GCS is I'm the Community Engagement and Advocacy Program Administrator. So basically what that means is I'm really focused on the High Point schools. So all 26 High Point schools, the liaison between them and the city, try to get involved when I can, as much as I can, to just kind of keep the cabinet and the superintendent kind of abreast of what's going on in High Point. So I've worked with Race for on a couple projects, and I'm excited to be part of the group.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So that's for international advisory. And so that will be kind of the gist of what that looks like. But the other subcommittee, which was our social justice committee, also did not meet last month because there was no chair. As you remember, Chair Commissioner Coble resigned, and we weren't able to fulfill that yet. But we are looking to restart that committee, and I believe we may have a volunteer. If anyone would like to chair this meeting, that would be worthwhile talking about it right now.
Sorry, Reese, what did you say? What did you say?
I was saying, I know that some folks had expressed, I believe I was talking to you specifically, in potentially chairing the social justice subcommittee.
Yes, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yay.
We'll see what happens, but yeah, I'm gonna volunteer my services for that. Give it a shot.
Excellent.
And with that, then we'll be able to meet. The regularly scheduled meeting is next Tuesday, and that will be in person for this rule that we better understand now. And we'll see kind of what that looks like going forward. As I said, that's the current rule, and we don't know if that will change, but that is the rule that has been in place for a long time. This is not a new rule. We just, frankly, were misunderstanding it, and sometimes that happens. So we're going to make sure that we're being good governance by appropriately conducting ourselves that way. So I believe that that's all the updates for the subcommittee's chair.
Appreciate that. Last item, any additional items or considerations from anyone? Well, y'all quiet today. Everybody's quiet today. It must be the weather.
Well, I will note that we had a very successful, I know that this may have been mentioned earlier, but we had a very successful Summer Jubilee.
Yeah.
We had over 4,000 folks in attendance and gave out 1,104 backpacks and 1,300 tickets to the soccer game. Also, the Carolina Corps soccer players were, some of the team members were in attendance, giving autographs and taking photos with the families. We had a number of city agencies there, and we also had face painters and balloon artists that just, I don't even know how many faces they painted. I feel like they, their arms must be broken and so tired, but they were absolutely wonderful. It was a great event, and we look forward to it again. And I think that that concludes for now the divisions events for a little while. You will likely see us, though, out and about. We are going to be at a number of upcoming festivals, potentially Day at the Park. We're not sure yet. For sure at Unity Festival, for sure at a couple other things throughout the remainder of the year. And this is kind of our Summer Jubilee is the kickoff of this kind of festival season that just continues from here on out. So if there's any meetings or any public events you'd like us at, please let us know.
Hey, Race, I'm sorry. Hey, Race, do you mind if you all could send out a schedule of those events, those dates coming up?
Sure. We'd be happy to.
The team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I would just say I was very pleased that it was such a diverse day. If you want to see the city and its diversity, it was there at that event. I was very, very surprised, but pleasingly surprised. And thanks for you and Denise's work to make that happen.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, and also I should mention our partners. Of course, Basic is one of our closest partners. They provide almost all of our volunteers. But this year we weren't at the library, but they still were a planning partner because they're building their sensory garden, and they actually stepped up and sent us just an absolute fleet of teen volunteers, more than we've ever had. I think we might have had 10 teen volunteers at the event, and we needed them. So that was really great. They were a huge help in packing the backpacks and in kind of helping us count 4,000 people. It is not an easy task to count 4,000 people in just 3 hours. It's a very compressed event, so we had more than 1,000 people there per hour, and they were a really integral part of that. And the library has always just been a great partner for that. So. Just really wanted to bring that home. And we also, since we're in additional items, I did mention that we had just finished our application letter and sent it off for the Fair Housing Assistance Program application. And that's going really well. One thing I did not mention about that is that a component of that is that the city will also be hiring a fair housing investigator to conduct that work. So I just wanted to let you all know that has already been, that position was approved in the budget actually 2 years ago when the ordinance was originally presented. But it was included in this budget, in the 24-25 budget. And therefore we have already met with HR, we've developed the position, we've got it in the system and all the paperwork you got to do and things like that. Developed our interview questions, and that should be posting anytime. I actually thought it might be posted by today, so I didn't check. It might actually be posted by today, but it will definitely be posted within the next week or two. And we'll be interviewing that, and we hope to have that person hired probably by October.
Madam Chair and Race, I'm going to send you a formal invitation to the Thrive Small Business Summit. So as we kind of talk about the Jetty Summit and things that are happening to address disparities, the Thrive Summit is a great place to come and learn about what's happening here in High Point with regards to small business. So I will send out a formal invitation to you all to send to the larger group.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Roberts.
Yeah, we can absolutely share that along. I'm trying to remind myself. So we'll be sending you out the JEDI information, the save the date on that. We will be sending you out the boards and commissions save the date when that comes, which, like I said, will be approved and finished. And we will be sending you out the Thrive Summit save the date. So you've got a lot of dates to save, and we will also try to put together a list of upcoming festivals that we're a part of. So I hope you all didn't have a busy calendar, because you might have one coming up.
Thrive is actually the week before the Jetty. So Thrive's is the 18th and 19th. September 18th and 19th. Perfect.
And I think that's everything from the staff chair, every update that we have.
All right, thank you. It's a lot on our agenda tonight. So that's all the additional items and considerations, and no one else has any comments. Can I ask for a motion to adjourn, please?
I make a motion that we adjourn our meeting tonight.
Second.
All right, so we're going to adjourn the meeting of the Human Relations.
Just to clarify, so we had a motion from I'm helping Denise for minutes later. So we had a motion from Karen Gilbert. We had a second from Dr. Roberts, and then we need to just take a quick vote for that.
All right. Denise, are you doing that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
You gotta stay on.